Okay, welcome back everyone to another exciting episode of CPP for Beginners, ongoing C++ tutorials. This is going to be the review for section number 2. Section number 2 covered an awful lot of things. We talked a bit about Hungarian as well as Camelback notation in episode 21. That's just naming schemes, so I'm not really going to review that. What I will go over, though, is, well, most definitely going to have to go over case. So we'll start with that. But we went over, to my knowledge, and this might be a very not a complete understanding because I didn't go back to look at what we did, but it was case. Then it was we did some switch as well. Then I believe we got into functions. Then we got into arrays. Now, I think that that's pretty much all we did. We talked about how we could change a lot of complex ifs into cases using switch. Functions, those were kind of a section in and of themselves. And arrays we just covered. So, to begin with, a good way to think of a case is something like a menu. So let's say we have int x, and then we see out enter 1 to do this, 2 to do that, 3 to break, or something like that. And we're just going to see in for x, and then we're going to switch x, and then we're going to just label this end switch, just because we like being organized. Case 1, do this, break. Case 2, do that, and the break. And case 3, which in this case we just said was a break. And then a default, just in case things do break. That was a completely and totally unintentional pun, but I liked it. So that's your basic case structure right there. You have a switch, a certain number of cases, and typically you'll be using some type of value that's either returned from another variable, another function, or something of that nature to actually power the switch. It can be user input, it can be machine generated depending on the complexity of your code. That should kind of just about cover it for case. I mean, there are times when you can make it a lot easier. Like I said, a menu, I mean, if you were going to see in for that, you'd have to say if, x equals 1, then it's do this, and then another one for if x equals 2, and you're gonna have to do it, and it's like that, and it's really cumbersome. Whereas if you just do it like this, it seems to be a bit easier to read and a bit more, I don't know, just nicer in general for me. Different people feel different ways about cases and switch statements, so it's not one size fits all, but it works. Functions. Functions, the way I taught them, they have a prototype. So in this case, we'll call this int do math, and we're just going to pass it two ints. Then down here, we'll take in an x and a y. And so we'll just say enter first number for x, and then just enter second number for y. And then all we need to do is, well, I guess we're going to be returning an int, so we'll call it int sum equals do math. x comma y. And I didn't need to put do math in parentheses there, it's just a force of habit. Then we're going to come down here and say int do math, and then it's going to be the names of our variables to use locally inside of the function. So in this case, I suppose I'll call it first number, comma, int second. I always capitalize it like that, I don't know why. Second number, toss up our scope brackets there. And then all we're going to do here, since all I want's a sum, is return first number plus second number. And so that's all we need to do there. And when we print that out, it's going to run and just ask us two numbers. It's compiling slowly because I just did something. So okay, it's going to say 10 and 20. And I didn't actually see out it anywhere. That was kind of silly. See out \n and a sum. So we'll try that again. Check my time in the meantime. 6 minutes. Okay, so 10, 20, and there's 30 as our output. I'm just going to kind of keep that the way it is, and I'll just comment that out for the next section, which is going to be arrays. That's the basis of all of our sort of functions. They're going to have some type of a return type, and they're going to, do some thing in the function. Or, well, technically they don't have to do anything, but they're kind of pointless if they don't. They're going to return something or return a void. So returns something, int in this case, or nothing, a void. And so that's the basic layout of a function. Now, to declare an array, it's very similar to declaring a normal variable. We can simply say int array of ints, and we'll make it 5 ints. And that's all we have to do there. We can set it explicitly by saying 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in our little scope brackets, which they're not scope brackets in this case, but I'm just calling them that because that's the name you know them by. We can initialize all the elements in the array to 0 by just doing that. That's what you should do if you're going to know the size of the array beforehand. We didn't get into dynamic allocation of arrays yet because honestly, I don't want to teach you guys pointers until I feel like you have a better understanding of the basics. So we're going to be getting into that shortly after we do strings. So that's just an array of ints. When we need to fill an array, we're going to almost always use a for statement. So we'll say int I equals 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus, and let's just say we wanted to fill the different spots in array of ints with whatever's in I. And so we would do that. And that's all. That's it. I mean, ints are pretty easy to deal with. Just a little caveat, this little thing when we're calling the array itself is known as a subscript. In this case, it would be the initializer, but that's a bit different. In this case, it's the subscript. Subscripts call to a certain spot in the array. Arrays are always, always, always 0 indexed, meaning that this array of 5 ints is positions 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. There is no position 5. If you were to call in a subscript, say you were calling subscript 5, it would return an out of bounds error. which I'm not sure if it's actually called an out-of-bounds error in this, so I'm going to find that out. I know that's what it's called in Java, but... So we'll see what it's actually called in C++, because I haven't done arrays seriously. Okay, in that case, it output the memory value that is at the location after our array, which it shouldn't have done, but I suppose that's better than making an error. It should say the same thing if we do -1, and it should be 47 or something along those lines. Yeah, so in that case, it's 5. It's a random value in any case. Apparently it doesn't error you in C++ like it does in Java, but I think that's even worse, because now you're going to have values and you don't know what they represent in your code. So arrays require a little bit of careful planning and a little bit of knowledge to execute properly. And with that said, I think that's going to just about do it for this review. I do want to touch on a couple more things involving arrays and functions. I don't think that I'm going to do them in this section, but actually, you know what? How much time do I have? Okay. I just want to mention one other thing, and I'll kind of show you, because I think I have just about enough time. If I want to pass an array, actually, you know what? I'll propagate it inside the loop. That's beautiful. Let's say that I want to pass an array to a function. It is always passed by reference, and that means we are passing the actual array itself. We're not doing anything, we're not messing around. We're passing the actual values. So we're going to be returning an int, or an array of ints in this case, and we're going to call it fill array, and we're passing in an int. Why is that wrong? Hang on. That should be okay. Maybe I have to do this, and yeah, that's right. Okay, well, when you put it there, that makes more sense. In Java, you can create an array putting the array brackets after either, so that's why I got a little confused. So I named it fill array. Okay, so int fill array, and we're going to call it int array xyz is the array that will pass into it, and we're just going to do just like that and name it xyz. What's the matter with that? Yeah, I know you can't resolve that identifier because I haven't passed you anything yet. Silly program. Okay, so then all we would do is call we would say array of ints equals fill. Actually, that's a really improper way of setting it, but I don't think I'm going to have time to correct it because we're just about coming up on 15 minutes. So I will go ahead and post the source code to this. I'm actually going to switch it to a void because that's going to work a lot better. And you guys will see the result of my source code. I should have probably thought this video out a little bit more before I got to it, but that's the joy of doing things on the fly. Thank you for joining me, folks. My name's Damien. This has been a CPP4Beginners.com review for Section 2, which was covering case, arrays, notation, and functions. Tune in next video so we can break into Section 3, which I'm thinking we're going to do about 5 case studies instead of doing actual lessons, so we can get some experience. Alright. And that's going to wrap this one up. Thanks, guys.